Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, it is a divine Oregon right now. That's right, divine. I have looked ahead at the 10-day forecast and we hover between like 78 and 82 degrees pretty much 9 out of 10 of those days. I think one day we get up to 88, but I'd rather go high than low. And this time of year is honestly just divine. Yes, I said honestly. And I am going to be honest with you this episode. This episode is a little bit of maybe humbling. I don't know if that's the right word, but I definitely want to have a very honest reflection on More Dry July. It's coming to an end here this week. I'm going to talk about how my intentions and my outcomes didn't line up exactly and why that's okay, especially when we prioritize accountability, honesty, and identity-driven habits over perfection. I'm sharing the real numbers from July, how I processed them, and why I am finishing the month strong. Not out of guilt or a need to make up for anything, but because that's just who I am now. And I'll be incorporating a lot of insights from two of my favorite behavior change experts, James Clear and his book Atomic Habits, and Elizabeth Benton and her book Chasing Cupcakes. These are two books that I always recommend, that I continue to reflect on and go back to the well on all the time. They continue to shape how I think about habit change, identity, and my own personal resilience. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the data first. At the start of July, I set a goal for 24 alcohol-free days. That was ambitious, but it felt possible. And then after reviewing early on the first weekend, my travel and social calendar, I dialed it down slightly to 23. And that's still aligned with my More Dry July goal because it's more dry July, right? So I try to get more alcohol-free days than I typically have in a month. And for me, where I am now, I typically have 19 to 20 alcohol-free days per month. I was aiming for 24, 23, right? So that's more than what I typically have and what I wanted to accomplish. Now, here we are, just days away from the end of July, and my honest tally, 21 alcohol-free days. And here's where it gets a little nuanced. 2 of those non-alcohol-free days only included 1 drink. So there was definitely a voice in my brain that whispered, it was just 1 drink, maybe call it alcohol-free-ish and count it. But I paused. I asked myself what James Clear calls a trajectory question. And he writes, you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. And I asked myself if my trajectory was still aligned with my identity as an alcohol minimalist. And the answer is yes. So that means that I shouldn't manipulate the results to make them look better than they were. And that little voice that was wanting to fudge the numbers, that was the old perfectionist mindset that says, if I didn't hit the goal perfectly, I failed. And that's a voice that I don't want to listen to, that I don't want to include in my life, that I don't want to be as a part of who I am. I didn't fail because I'm not chasing outcomes. I am building my identity. Here's what I want to say clearly and proudly. Even though I didn't hit 24, even 23 alcohol-free days this month, my results still reflect the person that I've become. Why? Because as an alcohol minimalist, I am someone who no longer drinks daily. And I got to tell you, that's big for me. I spent 20 plus years drinking daily and drinking more on the weekends and on vacations and other things like that. Number 2, I no longer use alcohol to change how I am feeling. Just because I've had a bad day or a stressor at work or anything else, I don't think to myself, oh, I need a drink. And I used to all the time, every day, in fact, or many days. Or I would look forward to drinking to, have more fun. And that's not the way that I include alcohol now. Now, if I'm going to include alcohol, it's a part of a plan and it's a week, I'm planning it way ahead of time, not in the moment based on how I am feeling. Number 3, when I do include alcohol, I don't overdrink. And again, this is something that I used to do pretty much on a nightly basis. So that's a big deal. And the last one, and this one is key, I actively prioritize alcohol-free days. And that one really hit home as I looked back on July. I still had more than twice as many alcohol-free days as I did drinking days. And that's not just behavior. That's a system. That's my default now. Clear says it perfectly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And my system, my lifestyle, is built around prioritizing peace, clarity, and feeling good in my own body. And that means prioritizing alcohol-free days. So even when I had a glass of wine when I was traveling, or an extra drink day with friends, I didn't let it derail me. I didn't let a slip become a slide. Hey, it's Molly, here to talk to you about Sunnyside. If you've listened to this show for any length of time, you know that Sunnyside is my number one recommendation for drinking apps that help you change your relationship with alcohol. I've been a Sunnyside partner for more than 3 years now, and one of the key reasons that I chose Sunnyside to be my app of choice is that they are really focused on continuous improvement, just like me. And for you, it is continuous improvement of the app in terms of how the customer is experiencing it. They've completely redesigned the progress tab from the ground up, which makes it easier for you to see your progress over time. They've introduced mini infographics to help you better see the big picture of drinks reduced and how dry days have added up since you joined Sunnyside. They have a dry day streak tracker now for those of you that are focused on taking a real extended break from drinking. And they intelligently surface trends in your data to highlight any positive things for you, and like a steady decrease in overall drinks over the course of time. These changes and these improvements are something that Sunnyside has continued to do ever since I started working with them. You can check it out over at sunnyside.co/Molly and get started on a 15-day free trial today. Let's zoom out a little on this idea of prioritizing alcohol-free days, because it isn't just a personal preference. It's what habit researchers call a keystone habit. That's a habit that, when practiced consistently, creates a ripple effect across the other areas of your life. When I prioritize alcohol-free days, I'm not just saying no to drinking. I am saying yes to better sleep, to more energy, to sharper thinking, to fewer regrets, and to more consistency in my other wellness routines, right? So this is, again, just a part of who I am. James Clear talks about this when he says, time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply whatever you feed it. So I ask, what are you feeding your future? For me, alcohol-free days are an investment in everything else I value: my productivity, my mood, my self-trust. They simplify my life in the very best way. And that's why even when I didn't get the quantity exactly right, like with More Dry July, I don't let that diminish the quality of the habit that I am reinforcing. In Chasing Cupcakes, Elizabeth Benton writes, and there's a chapter that I just love about this: we don't struggle because we aren't capable. We struggle because we aren't honest. And wow, that line kind of cuts right to it, right? In the past, I might have brushed past the truth of those 2 one-drink days. I might have justified it. But now I see the value in full ownership, not to shame myself, but to stay aligned with the person who I've become. Elizabeth also says there's a huge difference between being aware of your choices and actually owning them. Ownership leads to change. Excuses lead to patterns. That's why I own that I had 21 alcohol-free days. And that's also why I'm not using that as an excuse to throw away the last few days of the month. Because another big shift in me is that I don't give up when things don't go perfectly. I don't say, well, I already screwed up, so I blew it, right? Screw it, I blew it. Might as well just coast to the end of the month. No, I am finishing strong. The final days of July, I'll be finishing them alcohol-free. Not because I'm punishing myself, not because I need to make up for anything, but honestly, because it's just my norm now. Sunday through Thursday, I'm usually alcohol-free anyway. It's not a big production. It's just my default setting. As James Clear says, when your behavior and identity are fully aligned, you are no longer pursuing behavior change. You are simply acting like the type of person you already believe yourself to be. That's the secret. I don't need to will myself to say alcohol-free these next few days. It's simply what I do. It's how my alcohol minimalist lifestyle has evolved. Elizabeth Benton says it another way: don't let your past choices be the excuse for your next one. So even though my More Dry July wasn't perfect, I'm not using that as a reason to check out. I'm using it as a reason to lean in, to reinforce the person I am becoming and the kind of peace that I have built. Now, let me leave you with a metaphor that really helps me visualize this journey. Building alcohol-free habits is like stacking bricks. Every alcohol-free day is a brick. Sometimes the bricks don't line up perfectly. Sometimes we skip a day. Sometimes the mortar is a little uneven. That's okay. You're still building. You're building a foundation of trust, of peace, of resilience. And the only way that you lose progress is if you stop stacking altogether. So even when you have a day or two that doesn't match your ideal plan, don't tear down the wall. Don't stop the construction. Keep stacking. The more days you show up with intentionality, the stronger and more automatic your system becomes. Eventually, the wall supports you without you needing to hold it up. So here's the full picture of my More Dry July. My original goal, 24 alcohol-free days. My adjusted plan, 23 alcohol-free days. And my final total, 21. My perspective, progress over perfection, always. I stayed honest. I stayed mindful. I stayed alcohol-free more days than not. And I am finishing strong. James Clear says, success is not a goal to reach or a finish line to cross. It is a system to improve and endless process to refine. And I am 100% committed to continuing that process because it's not just what I do, it's who I am. And you can do it too. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep showing up with honesty and effort. So whether you had a more dry July, a somewhat dry July, or a not so dry July, don't stop showing up. Don't let one missed goal rewrite the story that you're creating. Until next time, my friends, keep choosing systems over shame. Keep choosing the identity that you are living into. And as always, choose peace. I will see you on Thursday. Thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 2 different ways, and you can learn about them over at my website. Go to www.mollywatts.com/workwithme or reach out to me directly. Shoot me an email, molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and decide what might work best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going. If there's one thing I know, it's that change is way easier when you stop trying to do it alone.